everyone is different. You're having a really bad day and things don't look right. And you call the office and you say, I just don't know what to do anymore. I would tell you that that is not how it was meant to be. And it's not fair for you to go through life living a difficult life. But a lot of people that live in our parish don't realize that we're there, or don't know that you don't have to have insurance to go there. You can go there and we work strictly on your income. You could pay $2 to come in and see a doctor, to see a therapist. We have an anxiety group. We have a parenting group. You would be very comfortable being there. You can come in and we can talk to you and we can comfort you. We can be friends. We can understand. We can listen to what your problems are and what has caused you to feel the way that you feel. In the end, you would be very pleased that you ended up there. I've said it once before, but I'll say it again. It's more fulfilling than anything else that job could possibly give me, by seeing a patient or a child or an adult's life completely turned around. That's a good day. Hi, my name is Lisa Lopez, and I'm a nurse at the Ascension Counseling Center.
Hello everyone, I'm Lisa Weber Curry, Manager of Clinical Services at Ascension Counseling Center. You're watching Ascension Counseling Center's video newsletter, where we talk about the services we offer and how you can benefit from them. Thanks for joining us. In this episode, we'll talk about overcoming self-sabotage, what self-sabotage is, and how to resist it. Please stay with us for the next half hour or so. Our newsletter begins right after this message.
Ascension Parish, a parish steeped in tradition. It's a place where generations of families have continued to enjoy a lifestyle that centers on community living and community celebration. It's a place where we care about each other and we care about ourselves. For more than 50 years, the Ascension Counseling Center has continued the tradition of helping individuals and families change behaviors and change lives. The Ascension Counseling Center.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, Lisa.
How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Great. Today we're going to talk about conquering self-sabotage. I think this topic is really, really great because in the beginning of the year, we all have resolutions of
That's
what
right.
we're going to do, what we're going to accomplish. But then that little bitty thing called sabotage comes into play. So you're going to tell us how to conquer it and get past it.
Yes, and let's talk about sabotage itself for a little
Okay.
bit. So what sabotage means is trying to disrupt or prevent something from happening.
Okay.
And that can come from outside of us. It can come from people who try to prevent us from doing the things that we know we need to do or want to do. Or
Okay.
it could come with even from things breaking down, and it feels like,
Right.
you know, mechanical things, other things in our environment that prevent us from doing what it is that we want to accomplish.
Okay.
But we can also sabotage ourselves. And
Okay.
that's the kind of sabotage that we're talking about today, the
Right.
kind that comes from the inside of us. So it is true that things, people, and things outside of us may prevent us from making the changes we want.
Right.
But those are the things that are happening on the inside of us that we're talking about today. So we
Okay.
want to talk about the things on the inside of you that prevent you from achieving your goals and the things that you want to accomplish.
Okay, because oftentimes if sabotage is outside of ourselves, we find the strength or whatever we need to kind of fight against it. It's that inside sabotage, that self-sabotage that we struggle with.
And we kind of think of that self-sabotage as a force on the inside of us that's pushing against us and resisting us making the kind of changes that we want to make.
Okay.
And so we often, when we talk about that force on the inside of us, we kind of call that resistance. So
Okay.
there is a resistance on the inside of us, of each one of us, that's trying to prevent us from making the change that we want to make.
Yes.
And so really this resistance is not a sign that something is wrong. resistance is just a natural part of each one of us.
Yeah.
And it's really going to be with us forever for the rest of our lives. It's not about
No matter
getting rid
what
of
we do,
resistance. Yes,
it's
no matter
there.
what we do, it's always going to
Okay.
be there. We're always going to experience it. There's a part of us on the inside that wants to prevent us from changing things, from
Yes.
making things different, from having to experience pain, from doing all of those kind of things that it knows are going to come along with
Right.
with change. And so
Exactly.
there's a piece of us that wants to keep things the same and not really make any changes.
Right.
And so that part of us, it just says, you know, don't do that right now. You know. And so there are a lot of different messages that come along with sabotage,
Okay.
self-sabotage, that are created by that internal force or that resistance on the inside of us. And so
Okay.
some of these, see if you recognize some of these as coming
Okay.
from inside of you.
Okay.
One of them is, you know, I just don't feel like doing it, or I just don't feel like doing it right now. I'll do
Exactly.
it, but not
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
Some of it tells us, who do you think you are trying to make that kind of change, trying to achieve that? Having
Right.
your own business, who do you think you are? You don't
Right.
really deserve that. That's
Exactly.
a force or a thought on the inside of us that is causing resistance
And
to
that's
change.
a common one because
Yes.
you also tell yourself, well, this person tried that and they were not successful. So again, who am I? What makes me think I can do this if this other person with more experience, more education tried it and it didn't work? So
Yes.
that's a big
That-
one.
That is a big one, and many of us have that thought in our head that we're
Right.
just not good enough, or we
Yeah.
just can't achieve it. Why bother? You know, if I'm not going to be successful, why even bother to make any kind of changes at all? So that's another one.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll tell ourselves, you know, that's something to do, but you have more important things to do right now.
Right.
So right now, something else is more important, and let me do this other things first. I'll get
Right.
to that change, but right now this is more important.
Exactly.
And sometimes we call that the tyranny of the urgent. There are
Okay.
things that pop up in the here and now that we will take our attention and that we'll focus on, where we need to be better at saying, even though that's important, my commitment to make this change is more important. You make
Right.
that your number one goal, and no matter what else comes up, you don't
Yeah.
change your
And that's
focus.
giving yourself permission to focus on what you said you would initially focus on and pushing the other things to the side. That's a challenge for most of us as well.
Yes. And the other one is, you know, you have been working really hard, you're really tired, just take a break right now. Don't expect yourself to do that right now. Just take a rest, take a break. Where, you know, so all of those, even though they sound reasonable, those are all resistance messages that are that are on the inside of us that are going to sabotage our attempts to change.
Okay. So we're going to talk about a little bit more about resistance and what exactly it is. And you say it's an emotional energy that we have.
Resistance is an emotional energy
Okay.
on the inside of you that is pushing against you to prevent you from what you really want to achieve. And really, resistance is normal. It's a normal part of each one of us. You're not unique. That voice on the inside of you, that emotional push on the inside of you that's trying to prevent you from reaching your goals, it's on the inside of every single one of us. What happens when we listen to that voice telling us we can't achieve, or we shouldn't do it now, or we're not good enough, we really think that we're the only ones feeling that way.
Yes.
And so if I feel that way and nobody else does, it must be true, it must be real. But the reality is that every single one of us feels that way.
Yeah.
It's just a voice, a force on the inside of us that pushes against us making change. And once we recognize that, we can kind of dismiss it a little bit easier instead of focusing all of our attention and believing all of those lies that it's telling
Yeah,
us.
I think that's key to recognize that this is a part of each and every one of us, because when we get stuck on it's me, something's wrong with me, I can't do this, I'm just going to walk away from it, it's hard to move beyond that. But just remembering, everybody has this experience and everybody can change it.
Yes, and so it's really not about getting rid of the resistance before you can move forward. we're not going to get rid of it. It's going
Right.
to pop up at another time in another place. And
Another
so
experience.
it's really just really recognizing that it's there and recognizing that it's part of our growth process and moving forward even when you have that resistance pushing against you and not allowing it to sabotage yourself.
That's so important. And you say actually the resistance can become a positive thing for us. It can become the thing that makes us strong enough to get through it all if we use it and see it in that way.
Yes, because what if this one time you say back to that force or that voice, I am good enough to do this, and you do it. And so the way that becomes a part of your growth is because you've achieved that one time, I've gotten rid of that voice that says I'm not good enough. The next time that voice comes up and says you're not good enough, you don't give it near as much attention as you did before. You have an experience where you mastered and proved that that voice was not true. Now the next time it comes up, it's easier to dismiss it. And that's part of the growth that you go through. And you begin to take steps to do what you know you need to do, even with that voice. It becomes less and less powerful.
Yeah, and I agree. It's like, I know you're there, I see you, but guess what? I'm going to do what I need to do anyway.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Instead of saying, well, I hear you, so therefore it must be true and I'm not going to act. So you're absolutely right. Recognizing, hearing the voice, ignoring it, and doing what you need to do. And it's like that old saying that, you know, courage doesn't mean you don't have any fear.
Exactly.
Courage means you have fear and you act anyway.
Yes. Feel the fear and do it
And
anyway.
do it anyway.
Exactly.
And you know, we have kind of an old saying in our field that just because you feel fear doesn't mean there's anything to fear.
Exactly.
Just because you feel anxiety doesn't mean there's anything to be anxious about.
Exactly.
Just because you feel sadness or depression doesn't mean there's something to be depressed about. And it's the same thing with the resistance.
Yeah.
Just because you're hearing that voice tell you you can't or you shouldn't doesn't mean that you can't or you shouldn't.
Right. And that's such an important saying in our field that I actually have it on my wall in my
Yes, you do.
office. Yeah, and clients have oftentimes stopped and read it and said, oh, and you can see them having an aha moment about it. So I think that's so important. Okay, so now you're going to move us through the steps to overcome, to continue overcoming and conquering sabotage. So one of them is identifying resistance.
Yes, and just like what we're talking now, once you recognize what it is, a force that's trying to prevent me from doing the things I want to do, then it begins to lose its power. So we talk about, you know, learning how to recognize it and moving past it. But one of the things that we talk about is that fear is at the heart of resistance. And so we want to begin to learn that even though we feel that fear, it should not paralyze us. We want to learn the difference between a real genuine fear and the fear that's at the heart of resistance.
Okay.
And so there are some things, that, like we just talked about, you know, just because you feel fear doesn't mean there's something to be afraid of. But sometimes when you feel fear, there are things that you should be afraid of.
Exactly.
And we are kind of wired that way. And so what we're talking about is recognizing whether something can really, truly harm you. And if there's a snake, if there's some kind of wild animal, if there's somebody there that is intent on harming us, then we should be fearful of that.
Right.
But what we notice with the difference between genuine fear and the fear that's at the heart of resistance is that if you're genuinely in danger and you're feeling genuine fear, then your whole body, mind, soul, spirit, and heart are all in agreement. They're all on board. We need to run as fast as we can. So there's no disagreement on the inside of us.
None. Your body goes into flight mode.
We go.
Yes.
And but with the fear that comes at the heart of resistance, there is this push and pull, this tension between those two things.
Okay.
So our minds, that higher part of us that really wants to make that change and do better, is telling us, do it, do it, do it. And that emotional force on the inside of us that's resistance is saying, don't do it, and it's given us all those list of reasons that we've already talked about.
You're going to look stupid. never been done before.
Yes.
All those
Yes,
things.
all of what are people going to think, and you know,
Yeah.
all of those things, or I'm just too tired, or I don't know how, you know,
Yeah.
all of those. So that higher part of you that wants to make that change is in this dynamic push and pull between that resistance on the inside of you.
Yes.
That's how we encourage you to look at the difference. If you really want to do something and this resistance is saying no, you're going to have this conflict on the inside of you. That idea is not going to go away. I still want to make this change. I'm just unable. So if you feel that kind of thing, that's a sign that it's the fear that's connected with resistance. The idea doesn't go away. And you almost become tormented with, I want to do it, I want to do it, I want to do it. But, you know.
Yeah.
And so that is a sign that it's the fear that's connected with resistance instead of a genuine fear,
That
and
makes
something
you
that
run.
you need to recognize. And once we recognize this, then that resistance, like we said, begins to lose its power.
Right.
It stops becoming an enemy, and it starts becoming a sign,
Right.
a motivator, something
Exactly.
that we begin to look at again as part of our growth.
Yeah, it's kind of like it becomes that old familiar friend that comes around every now and again and kind of gives us that push to do what we need to do.
Yes, absolutely.
So it becomes a good thing. So step 2 is overcoming resistance.
All right, so when we're overcoming it, there are 3 things that we're going to do. The first is the awareness that we've been talking about. You
Okay.
become aware of it. You recognize that you have that force on the inside of you that's going to fight against you, making changes and doing something you've never done before. And you begin to recognize that it's a fear of resistance, not a genuine fear, and that it's something that's going to always be with you, and it has the potential for growth. And so once you begin to look at it in that way, recognizing it for what it is, becoming aware of it, and letting its power over you diminish, then that's what benefit the awareness will do for us. So that coming to awareness of the idea that I have this fear, it's self-sabotage, it's resistance, it's not genuine fear.
Right.
I'm not actually in any danger here if I take this step. Then it begins to lose its power, and that's the power of awareness.
Okay. And then we start to appreciate it.
We can appreciate it. Again, we're looking back at it as recognizing that it's a motivator. It can be a part of change in your life. It's going to give you some chances to have successful experiences and to master it. And every experience of mastering this is going to strengthen you. And you'll get to the point where you just do it.
Yes. You see it, oh, it's here. I'm about to do something powerful. You know, you start to look at it differently.
Once you become aware and appreciate, then it begins, it loses its power over you in the sense that you don't fear it. In other words, we can fear the resistance itself, or we can become overwhelmed by the resistance itself. And so once we change our views, how we look at it, then that's going to free you up to actually make the changes that you want to make.
Yeah, it clears your mind to know what steps to take to accomplish your goals. So that's good. So, which is what we're coming up to. We learn to take action in spite of it.
Yes, you just take action. And one of the things that people have said is that, you know, if you want to take action to overcome the resistance, then as soon as you think about it, do it.
Okay.
All right, because what
okay.
we'll do is, you know, we're all like this. I'm like this, you're like this. We will say, we know we want to do it, we're committed to doing it, I'll do that later. You know,
I'm committed,
so that,
but later.
Yes, I'm committed. I'm really going to do this, but I'm just going to do that later. And so what some people say is, as soon as you have that thought, I need to make this change, take one step toward it in the next 5 seconds. Don't put it off.
Yes.
Don't go pick something up. Don't hang your clothes. Don't do anything else. Take one step. And that action doesn't have to be the entire thing.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be everything that's required to achieve that goal for change. One step at a time.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I've learned to do that with things I've been resisting. if I just take one step, if I just outline the project or make sure all the materials are out and available, I am certainly going to go back to that project. But if I never touch it and I let resistance take over, it's likely I'm not going back, and it's going to be a constant struggle, constant. So I think that's wonderful. Just do something the first few seconds toward reaching that goal, and it works.
Then take another small goal the next,
Exactly.
small step the next time. And pretty soon, once you are doing that, you will overcome the resistance much more quickly, and you'll be able to spend more time on that activity that is going to bring you the change that you want.
Right. It works. I've tried it. It definitely works. Okay. So we also talk about not giving in to the fear, but acting from love. What do you mean by that when you talk to us about that?
Yeah, whenever we talk about not giving in to the fear, fear is really the opposite of love and peace and joy and all of those positive emotions that we're all striving for.
Right.
So if you're giving in to the fear, then you're doing the opposite of love. And part of that has to do with the love of yourself and the love of, becoming the person that you want to be. And we're really, all of the goals that we're talking about, all of them, any kind of goal for self-change or self-improvement helps us to be a better person. And we know that as we're walking through life, everything we go through helps us to become more evolved, to become more of who we want to be.
We really are, yeah.
And in
Become
fact,
more of
most
ourselves.
studies of people over the lifespan say that people, when they get into become middle age, that's when they become happy in their marriages, happy with their kids, happy with their jobs. It has a lot to do with our age and the stage that we're in, and how we become a lot more comfortable in our own skin.
Right.
And that's kind of what that's talking about in terms of, that loving yourself, to be able to do that, to move through the fear.
Okay. And so, tell us, why does loving myself require that I take these actions?
Well, it really has a lot to do with, how you, if you're taking those actions, out of fear, then you're not going to get to the point where you want to go.
Right.
If you're taking action out of love for yourself, love for your family, love for your situation, love for the task that you're doing, then you're going to be happier while you're doing it, and you're going to be more fulfilled. And so it's a lot about making sure that as you're taking those steps forward, right at first your little voice is going to be making you feel guilty. Well, if I'm making this change, it means I'm not available to somebody else, or I'm not available to what I used to be doing. Or, a lot of that is about getting rid of the guilt and the negative emotions that are keeping you trapped in some of the other things that you're doing. Some people are staying in jobs instead of becoming self-employed because of fear. Instead, or how is that going to affect other people? Where really, if you're loving yourself, if you're valuing yourself, then you're going to choose the path that's going to be rewarding to you. Ultimately, that's going to trickle down to everybody. Everybody will be happier if you are happier as well.
Exactly.
And doing what you need to do.
Exactly. So that's why taking those actions to show how much you love yourself is so important. And I know that's one that a lot of people would struggle with. So thank you for explaining that. That's very important. Okay. So, and you've talked about how loving yourself shows other people how to take care of themselves. And when you're taking care of yourself and you're happy and you're doing what you need to do for you, it really does trickle down. It makes your interactions with others much more pleasant. And it shows others who look up to you, hey, she did it. Her life is better. I can do it too. It's okay. It's okay for me to take care of myself. It's okay for me to take these steps to move forward. So it really is a good thing, and it benefits everyone involved.
It does. It really does have this trickle-down effect to everybody else.
Great. And so the final step is, number 3, willpower or taking the initial push. Willpower is such a big thing to people.
So. And willpower alone, let me say, it's not enough.
Never is enough.
Yeah, and that's why we make all of these resolutions on January the 1st,
Uh-huh.
and by February the 15th, they've all gone by the wayside.
If they last that long.
Yes, if they last that long.
Yes.
Willpower is not really enough, but it is needed for the first step.
Okay.
All right, so that taking that initial push and making that kind of like we talked about, as soon as you think about it, do it within
Yes.
that first 5
Yes.
seconds. That's where the willpower comes in. Every other step after that kind of becomes easier, and there are other things that are motivating. Willpower enough is not enough on its own to motivate, but we get other rewards. We get the rewards of self-satisfaction, of feeling proud of ourselves. We get rewards from outside, other people, you know, supporting us and praising us. We may get financial rewards. We get satisfaction. We get all of these other things are also motivating. So if you, the first push is to change your lifestyle, so you start exercising so that you can become healthier, especially for older people. They can kind of become frail, and then they just sit more instead of exercising. Well, it may take willpower to take that initial step and actually start walking or some other activity. But after that, that activity itself becomes rewarding. When you begin to feel better, when you begin to feel stronger, when you can get up out of your chair, when you can walk to your mailbox, you know, all of those things, they become self-motivating. So the willpower is an important first step, but it's not going to be the only step. Other things are going to be rewarding, and you won't need to rely only on willpower once you get started with your changes.
Yes, because willpower is not sustaining. It starts out and then it dwindles away. I like to say you take the first step and the universe opens up to help you the rest of the way.
Yes.
So we have to take that initial push to do things.
Yeah, it's very important. And so, you know, right now I know you're thinking about those kind of things you're already starting to want to do for yourself, because you know what, that's human nature as well, that there's a desire on the inside of us to better ourselves, to be happier, to be more fulfilled, to be healthier, to be financially more stable, to be in community with other people. So there's something on the inside of each one of us, and that's how I know it's true for you, that each one of us is trying to improve our lives in some way. And so those things are popping through your head right now, and so this is the time for you to do that first step.
Take
you
those
have
5
seconds after we sign off for you to go ahead and take that step for yourself and make a difference. And let me say this, we don't, we talk about our agency all the time, but what I notice when people come in for counseling is they have one of two things going on. One is they're unhappy and they don't know why, and they don't know what goal they want to achieve. So you really don't know what, you want some help, but you don't know what your goal is. The other side is people who have a goal and they have no idea how to achieve it, what to do, how to reach that goal. And so that may be you right now. You might have that goal, that thought on the inside that you've been wanting to make a change, and you've had this internal resistance that's preventing you from doing that. We at Ascension Counseling Center, we excel at that. We know how to help you meet your goal, and we know how to help you provide the motivation that's going to keep you going to help you take that first step. And when your willpower kind of dwindles down, that's when it's really important to have a team to work with you. So if you're thinking right now, you know, I know I have these goals and I have this resistance that's preventing me, take that step right now. Take the first step toward making that change in the next 5 seconds after we sign off. And if you notice that that's not enough, you give us a call and we will help you to make those changes that you want. So ultimately, for everybody who comes to see us, that's what it is. They have a goal. I want my marriage to be better. I want to make better grades. I want to do better on my job. I want to be a better spouse. I want to be a better person. And so that's really pretty much how we specialize. We help people with those types of things. So we encourage you to give us a call if you're having trouble making those changes on your own. So now you have it. Just take those 5 seconds,
take some action on those 5 seconds. I would also recommend that when they're watching us, that they have a notebook and a pen on the side of them so they can jot notes and they're ready. When we sign off, they're ready to take action, or they're ready to call us and we'll help them take action.
That's absolutely right.
Okay, great. Thanks again, Suzanne, for
You're
a
welcome.
very, very interesting topic. Thank you. And thanks to you, our viewers, for spending your time with us for this episode of Ascension Counseling Center's video newsletter. Remember, you can catch replays of the program exclusively on Ascension 21 on the days and times listed on your screen, and anytime on Ascension 21's YouTube channel. We hope today's information will help change your life for the better. That's our goal at Ascension Counseling Center, for our programs to help change lives. Remember, Ascension Counseling Center is here by way of your support. We're funded by a 2-mil property tax millage, which means that $2 from every $1,000 you pay in taxes goes to support our agency so we can provide free and low-cost mental health and substance abuse outpatient services to residents of Ascension. We're located in Gonzales at 1112 Southeast Ascension Complex Boulevard. It's off Worthy Road, across from the courthouse and next to the health unit. You can reach us by calling 225-450-1016. You can also find us on the web at ascensionparish.net/MH and on Facebook at Ascension Counseling Center. You can also hear us on KKAY AM 1590 every Tuesday from 10 to 10:30 a.m. Thanks for your support, and until next time, from everyone at Ascension Counseling Center, thank you for watching.
We see a lot of children that are actually being raised by their grandparents. There's so many resources that we can help you with to help you figure out what to do with this child, to help this child understand what his goal in life is. Having one little boy come in and hate his life and have a scowl on his face and not want to be there, and then a month or so later befriend him and come in and smile at me and talk to me and give me a hug, which those children don't do that very often. So by having that hug rewards me more than any paycheck that a person could give me. It's more fulfilling than anything else that job could possibly give me, by seeing a patient or a child or an adult's life completely turned around. Hi, my name is Lisa Lopez, and I'm a nurse at the Ascension Counseling Center.